Hey, this is Kit Cabello of Hardlensmedia. We are continuing coverage of the Veterans for Peace rally here at United Methodist Church here in the city of Chicago, and I'm joined here today with.
Reverend Yearwood.
All right, Reverend. Essentially, during the live stream and also afterwards, you were speaking about things that are holding back the progressive movement. What are those things that are holding back the progressive movement from fully unifying as well as pushing forward to have a real government to represent us, the American people?
I think the one thing that I mentioned was how sometimes we have a siloed progressive movement, and you can't win as a siloed progressive movement, meaning you can't have a pocket where people are dealing with only with Black Lives Matter or police reform, a pocket dealing with issues of war, issues of climate change, immigration. You can't have that. You have to really come together as one and say, listen, we're fighting for all of humanity. Not even Republican or Democrat or conservative or progressive, but humanity. And we're fighting for people. So in fighting for people, that means even breaking into silos, having folks who are conservative or having folks who are on other sides of the aisle come together, really dialoguing and saying, listen, what can we do to fix what we have so that the next generation can be better?
How can community activists and community leaders step up to get their local neighborhood involved? Because currently, a lot of Americans don't want to get involved in politics or in protesting or even getting involved in elections. Currently, Congress stands at 11% approval rating, so most people have in their mindset, why should I even care? How can those community activists and grassroots organizers actually rally their community in order for there to be real sufficient change?
Well, I mean, that's a layered question. I mean, clearly, it just didn't the create the change in your community. Sometimes the problems didn't just arrive yesterday. They have been there for quite some time, and so I think that's why we have to have strong institutions for our community, and they can have the infrastructure and the resources to really do the work. I think actually hiring people within those communities, so people aren't parachuting into that community then leaving like after an election, but literally building infrastructure with the community, hiring organizers, taking a little extra time for training and guidance. So that folks can come out in the community using their resources within the community as well, their infrastructures. But even I think long term, I think that not buying into being jaded, it's very difficult. And I think that a lot of times communities can become cynical and jaded and upset because they see people coming into their communities and leaving. But I think the community can also be empowered when they see that they can reclaim power, and more importantly, figure out how we can revitalize vulnerable communities to not only be successful, but to move from surviving to thriving. That's the ultimate goal. And if we can do that, then I think you'll see more communities coming away from being apathetic, oh, these elections don't matter, or being jaded or cynical, when they begin to see themselves reclaiming power, see themselves really begin to have a voice at the table, see themselves saying that, you know what, we're seeing politicians come out of our own communities. I knew Leroy, I knew Janet, and they are representative of folks who can make change. Not somebody who comes in once and then leaves, but really folks who are with the community from the beginning, grew up in the community, and then represent the community in different spaces to speak truth to power.
Since the election of President Trump, there's been numerous protests, and there's a slow awakening that's happening for the American people in regards to finding out just how our government represents us and how the corporate media really presents truth to us. What is the long-term goal in regards to people becoming fully awakened and to actually implement real social change?
Well, I think that demonstration is very important, but legislation is also important. And demonstration without legislation leads to frustration. So if people are only out there demonstrating right now because of President Trump, because they're just mad as hell, and he's giving a lot of people a lot of reasons to be mad as hell. But I think if they just are just demonstration, we're not doing the legislation, figuring out how we can change policy or shape policy, this be problematic. So it's a long-term process beyond Trump. So beyond 2020, beyond 2018, beyond that, to say that, listen, what do we need to do now to put things in place so we can shape policy? Because clearly either we shape policy or policy will definitely shape us. So what can we do now, even despite who's ever in the White House? What can we do now to begin to build that network from a bottom up to create change? And I think that's when I think the demonstration, which is very important, demonstration is actually very important. It's a very useful tool to make sure. It's one of the great things about being in our country, that you can demonstrate. That's a great process. But I think moving from there to creating policy is the next step.
During your speech here, you were mentioning in 100 years, people who are in this room will not be here, but there will be another generation that would that yeah that yes, unless they are being preserved by scientific technology that's far beyond our grasp.
One benefit of big pharmaceutical, like who knows whether you might find something that keeps around.
But what does that mean in regards to 100 years from now? There will be another generation here, and that they will be taking charge of what we leave behind them. What are your overall thoughts and message behind that?
It means that for me, as a person of color, that I am now benefiting from those who had to go through some very daunting, rough conditions in 1717, in 1817, even 1917 when it was lynching and Jim Crow. I benefit in 2017 because there were folks who stood up, not only just black, but white, just people who just said, this is wrong. They stood up. I benefit because they never would see me, clearly 200, 300, 100, even 50 years ago. But I'm here benefiting from that. 100 years from now, there will be folks look back on us and say, listen, why couldn't we transition from fossil fuels to clean energy? Why couldn't we figure out policy that was real criminal justice reform, that when there were bad people, you put them in jail, and people who were doing bad things, they got arrested, but people who just wasn't getting killed for no reason? Why can we figure out how to make our public schools better for children? Why can we figure out how to make sure we had an immigration policy that literally made our country actually stronger, and then put one against the other, or play this cultural politics? Why couldn't people do all those things? And I think that's what I mean, is that now, particularly with issue of climate change and wars, our generation has moved from not just speaking about equality, but existence. That if they were wrong about slavery or Jim Crow, I would still be here. It'd be a very bad situation, but I'd be here. If 100 years from now, if we are wrong and don't make change about climate change, and we continue going on that path, or about endless wars, then they don't have a chance to even fight. They ain't even got a chance. So 2117, that generation needs us more now. And if somehow they look in the archives and they find this videotape and they look and say, man, we have clean air, or we have clean water, that means that there was a group of folks who were all over this country, all over this world, who succeeded. If they don't have that, and it's chaos, and it's like Mad Max 5, then we lost. Then folks with greed won, and that's not right for that next generation.
Where can our viewers and subscribers find you on social media, and what final words you want to say to them?
Yeah, definitely can find me at Rev Yearwood on Twitter. And definitely go to hiphopcaucus.org, check it out, or People's Coming Music, check out .com, check out the good stuff, and let's keep fighting the good fight. All power to the people.
All right, Reverend, thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media, and to all our viewers and subscribers, peace, and let's all do what we can to build a better future.